Okie dokie. Um, Hopefully I don't cough up a storm with this stream. Hopefully. I pray. Alright, because I have a bit of a sinus infection. I am recovering from it, though, which is the good news. But I feel like whenever big weather is anticipated to impact someone, at least in the United States, excuse me, I already told you, hopefully I don't cough up a storm. That may not happen. I may actually have to cough up a storm, so bear with me. Bear with me. But if there's stuff that's going to happen in the United States that I think is going to impact people, I might as well say something about it. I might as well. So, welcome back. We have a nice little event that is anticipated to happen both tomorrow, Tuesday, November 3rd, 2022, and Friday, November 4th, 2022. Now, there are some uncertainties with both of these events, but it's more for Friday than it is for Thursday, because for Thursday, believe it or not, with both of these events here, with these severe weather events, we actually do have a relatively decent idea of what actually could happen. The Storm Prediction Center is a governmental-run agency that looks at weather and predicts as to what the severity of it is. They run it off of a 1 through 5 scale, with as well being, kind of a mid-ground general thunderstorm or a below 1 chance for severe weather. So the color code is on the bottom part of this graphic right about here. Unsurprisingly, my pen tool is not functioning, so I'm gonna have to restart that. But the 1 out of 5 on the severe weather scale is dark green. The general thunderstorm is light green, so if it's light green, you can just expect some thunderstorms and whatnot, but not really too significant. Once again, 1 out of 5 is dark green, and then 2 out of 5 is in yellow right within there. Now, the reason for this being a 2 out of 5 on the severe weather scale is mainly for wind, and we'll talk about more as to why that is here just a bit. But the latter risks as well, the smaller risks, are for hail up to the size of quarters. I am anticipating that to be probably the maximum size hail that we are going to get from Thursday. And then, of course, a small chance for tornadoes, and there being a 2% chance for tornadoes within a 25-mile radius. But the one thing that we do have a bit more of a higher risk with is on Friday. And this is the main reason why I am making this live stream. That way, number one, I can answer the questions of the people after this presentation, but also to kind of get an idea for the people who may be also watching this after the fact. They may also be able to know as to what is going on there too. So we have, once again, our 1 out of 5 in green, our 2 out of 5 in yellow, and then we also have a 3 out of 5 in orange right here. Now, for the Storm Prediction Center, they don't actually have their specific risks for 3 days out. They have it for 1 day out, which would actually, how they actually do it is it's not actually, 1 day out or 2 days out, but it's actually based off of, all right, if it's happening today, then this is day 1. It starts here. Today is day 1. Then afterwards, that's day 2. Next one's day 3, almost as if it's documenting every single day, like you're at a specific spot. Or, everyone has seen those movies to where they create these tick marks of how many days they've been in jail for, in prison for, or whatnot. Same premise, all right? Except, the storms are not in jail, obviously. They're running amok. So, we have our 3 out of 5 on the severe weather scale. My guess for this right now would be at minimum, this is a 5% chance for tornadoes within a 25-mile radius. But they also hint some language here in the actual discussion from the Storm Prediction Center, which they actually have this. If you go into every single convective outlook, they actually say stuff about why they think the event is what it is. So for people who are, skeptical of why weather is what it is and stuff like that, why they believe it is what it is, You know, you can take a look at it from a day 4, day 3, day 2, day 1 outlook. They tell you every single day why this has changed, why they think this is new. In this outlook here, they say, quote, an enhanced risk for mainly strong damaging wind gusts has been added for storms late Friday through early Saturday morning. The slight risk also has been expanded for greater severe potential through the overnight hours with the QLCS, which is a quasi-linear convective system. Basically, to put it in layman's terms, a giant squall line, a giant line of showers and thunderstorms. However, all right, this is kind of the fine print here where they start to get a little bit more technical, but they also kind of note that the potential for this is here. So, quote, however, large 0 to 1 kilometer storm relative helicity values with 250 plus meters squared per second squared, which is essentially vorticity, and the potential for supercells does suggest a conditional risk. You can tell I'm sick now, 100%. Does suggest a conditional risk for tornadoes with, in parentheses, possibly significant tornadoes. So at minimum, this is a 5% chance for tornadoes, all right? They have the confidence that they believe that tornadoes are possible within this event. But they also believe that if their confidence in this event to actually produce tornadoes is higher, they do believe that it could be a 10% chance for tornadoes with an additional 10% hatched risk, which a hatched risk is essentially a significant chance for EF2 tornadoes or stronger. So that would be the one thing to watch here. I am definitely watching for this very closely, but there are some questions with this event here on Friday. One of which is based off of the positioning of our trough here. So we're going to take a look at our jet stream, and I am actually going to switch our look here to our weather bell models. There we go. Above me, by the way, I'm looking at a live severe thunderstorm in Florida, so that way I can at least kind of see what is going on currently right now, you know, just on the off chance that something does happen. But we do have our time, which is above me. It is in Eastern Daylight Time, so if you're in Central, you're gonna have to subtract a singular hour. But we're gonna take a look at how our jet stream is flowing through. If you can imagine, the jet stream is like a river, and the river flows through in different directions and waves and turns and stuff like that. And this river is ever changing. The river also flows at different speeds. At some instances, it slows down, the current is not as strong, and in other instances, the current is pretty quick. And so, accordingly to the speeds, you know, according to the colors, there will be different speeds. And so if you are into more of the reds and even above the reds, that is some more stronger current values, some stronger winds aloft within our jet stream. And then, of course, the greens and the blues, as well as even whites in some instances, not as quick. So we'll take a look at the transition here of our trough. This is what's currently happening right now, or at least what was happening a little bit earlier today. You see the beginning of our trough, the dip in our river, our jet stream right here. Whenever we have a dip that goes south and then it curls back north, that right there is a trough. And so our trough is starting to garner a lot of speed and momentum. You notice that there is now a new band of significant winds here within our jet stream that is going to flow through our river here. And as this continues to progress, you notice that our jet stream starts to get stronger and stronger as we get from Thursday into Friday. Now, I stop it right here on Thursday night because, number one, this is when we can start to see our severe weather for Thursday, our 2 out of 5 in the severe weather scale. The positioning of the trough here is positively tilted. Now, how can I tell this for people who are trying to figure out, all right, well, what is a positively tilted trough? What does that mean for my area? You know, what does that mean for severe weather in general? Well, troughs can be tilted in specific ways, and it can actually, I guess, tell you more or less what mode of severe weather it can actually favor. And so if you take a look at our trough, you see how it's bent through like this way. but then you also see the middle of the trough right here where there isn't really as much wind right within this area, and you follow the outline of it just like that. You notice that if you were to look at this circle that I just drew, or this bend here that I just drew, you notice how from the bottom part of the trough all the way up to the top middle, it is leaning towards the right. And so whenever the top part of the trough starts to lean towards the right, that is a positively tilted trough. Now, what does that mean? It actually means that it favors more of a strong, damaging wind threat, or maybe even a hail threat in some instances, if you have enough energy present in the atmosphere, rather than a tornado threat. And so the reason why there is such a low risk for tornadoes on Thursday is because we have a positively tilted trough present within the atmosphere. Now we fast forward over to Friday here, and this is where things start to get really interesting, because you notice here, once we get towards 8 o'clock Friday Eastern, 7 o'clock Saturday, it is now right up and down just like this. Now, contrary to a right-leaning trough, if it was teetering towards the left, that would be a negatively tilted trough. And once again, contrary to a right-leaning trough, a positively tilted trough, a negatively tilted trough is the latter, a tornado-based trough, more favorable for tornadoes to actually form within that environment. But in this one, it's neutral. This one, it's right down the middle. It's split in between a wind threat and a tornado threat. The big question that I have for this, at least the first question that I have for this event, is if this is going to transition from a positively tilted trough to a negatively tilted one, which you will see here if I actually fast forward it here in time towards the Saturday morning hours, you notice this is starting to become more of a negatively tilted trough. If I actually drew a line here, there we go, negatively tilted trough right within there. So my question for this event is that how quickly can this trough transition from a positively tilted one to a negatively tilted one? If this transitions to a negatively tilted trough 12 hours earlier than what the models say, this will be a tornado event, 100%. Very well could be a tornado outbreak for the areas listed over here in Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and portions of extreme northwestern Louisiana. But if it continues to stay neutral or even stays positively tilted, that could hinder the tornado threat. So that is one thing that I am watching very closely with the positioning of this trough, you know, according to what the models say. So that's one thing to note. And that's also a nice little trick. If you were to ever try and forecast storms yourself, you would look at the positioning of the trough to kind of determine as to what you could potentially see severe weather-wise. This doesn't really work out for winter weather and stuff like that. It's, winter weather is a lot more complicated in that sense. And so you wouldn't really be looking for any sort of tidbits with that, or at least none that I know of for forecasting winter weather. But for severe weather, positively tilted, negatively tilted, or neutral, those can be easy tall tale signs of what could actually happen. On the other hand, that's one question that I have for this event on Friday. The second question is with the prefrontal thunderstorms. And I actually want to kind of go into what exactly this event is doing, so that way you guys can kind of understand as to where I'm coming from with this. So let's actually go to South Central. Let's zoom in here a bit. You can see our dew points here indicated in Fahrenheit. And we also have the color coordinators across the board with this as well, so you can kind of understand what's kind of going on with all of this here too. Once again, by the way, I just want to, tell anyone who just joined in. Yeah, telltale. Yeah, I can't speak. I was just about to get to that. My brain is not functioning correctly at the moment because I am sick. And so I'm actually recovering from my sinus infection right now. So if I cough up a storm, if I sound stupid, although I typically sound stupid regardless, just please keep in mind that right now I am a little teeny bit sick. I hope to actually be healthy enough to go and stream Friday, but who knows? Who knows? All right, so I just want to remind everyone, kind of losing my mind a little bit. All right, so let's take a look at what's going on right now with what the models say about this event. So here we go. We have our dew points. You can see that we have our warm front right here. We have our cold front, our lingering cold front right here. And then it's hard to tell, but we actually have a pseudo boundary, kind of a pseudo cold front, more or less, situated over here across central and north central portions of Texas. That's going to be the area to watch 100%. If I were to chase, that would be the area that I would look towards. I don't exactly have a city in mind as to where I would sit purposefully to try and say, hey, that area is probably going to get the worst of it. But anywhere along I-35 around that area definitely is something to watch out for. So there's your dew point map. You notice dew points are in the oranges, relatively healthy enough for thunderstorms to kind of form or sustain from a moisture perspective. We also take a look at the amount of energy that is in the atmosphere with this, and we look at that with something called CAPE, Convective Available Potential Energy. According to the North American model, you see that there actually is some energy left over within portions of Oklahoma and Texas, which means that there could be enough energy for thunderstorms to take advantage of and potentially even intensify further to be able to deal with adversity, whatever adversity a thunderstorm may deal with on this day. It does actually have that. And if we actually take a look at the helicity, the surface helicity, which is the surface vorticity in this instance, the streamwise vorticity, which is favorable for tornadoes to form, of course, the higher amounts of it, the greater chance for there to be tornadoes within this, given that there is enough moisture and energy within this environment. And you notice there actually is some streamwise vorticity within this environment, which means that there is some chance, there is a chance for, you know, that boundary to try and kick off some of those showers and thunderstorms and even produce those tornadoes. And I'll say it right now, if there is something that forms along that boundary, that is your highest risk for tornadoes. That is where your stronger tornadoes could potentially form. It would be off of those prefrontal or prefrontal boundary that's moving on through. And I'll actually kind of point a little bit more as to what this boundary is looking like by looking at our vorticity here. Now, if you have pivotal weather, the only model that really has it that's a part of the CAMs, I believe, which is the convective allowing models, is the original low resolution North American model. If you go on to the NAM, let me actually go on to the kind of full screen version of this so you guys can actually see this. If you go on to the NAM, go down to upper air dynamics. So that would be under the parameter, and then go down to upper air and dynamics. You have height and vorticity here. You don't want vertical vorticity or vertical velocity. You want vorticity. And the higher the number, the lower it is to the ground. So if you see 850 millibars, it is lower to the ground compared to 500 millibars, which is a lot higher above the ground. So you want to click 850 millibars. You go over to the specific time. Of course, you would have to translate it into Zulu or Z time, and or Zeta time, I should say. And you know, you can punch that into Google and say, well, what is CDT, or translate universal time to CDT or EDT or whatever time that you may have, and it'll tell you what time you're looking at. And you can see here on Friday, you can see there's vorticity here, and you also have your vorticity bands here, your boundaries that are starting to kind of form within that area. So same premise. We're talking about that. We're just looking at it at a higher resolution with the North American model, 3-kilometer version. So here we have the vorticity, and we're looking at it on Friday morning. You notice here on the eastern to southeastern sides of Oklahoma, as well as central to eastern sides of Texas, it's relatively bare. There is some of these higher amounts of vorticity that you can see in the red, but it's not really all too consistent. Whereas once you start to get into this area right here, you start to notice that there's a lot higher consistency of higher vorticity bands. And that starts to become relatively prominent here by the time we get towards 10 a.m. You see here on 10 a.m. we have a huge band of vorticity that's forming here along this boundary. Now, believe it or not, this is not the cold front. This is the prefrontal boundary that I've been talking about. We'll go to the dew point, and you can see the cold front is all the way back here. Whenever you see the dew points drop off from very moist to very dry, and it's on the southern side of a storm system, that's your dry line or your cold front. And so that's your cold front all the way over here. This is your prefrontal boundary that's forming along that vorticity band. So we take a look at that vorticity band. Once again, we'll see here, once again at 850 millibars. And right along that boundary right here, if storms can form along it or out in front of it, a lot of the moisture, a lot of the energy is going to be consolidated right within that area. I'll go into further detail with this because as we continue to elongate with time, you see the boundary starts to consolidate right within this area, and we have higher amounts of vorticity just to the east of it as we get to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll go to the energy levels once again, the convective available potential energy values, and you see even behind the boundary there is energy, but out in front of it, that is where the most energy is actually located. And assuming that that will continue to be the case, especially as we get further and further along into time, you notice that the energy kind of gets cut off right here. You have greens on the left side, and then you have a sharp cutoff to yellow and oranges on the right side. Now, if I draw a line right here, I bet you money that a band of vorticity is right over that area. And even though it's, there's a band of vorticity everywhere within that area, there is still vorticity right within that area. So that kind of adds to my point a little bit more as to how the boundary is still there. There is a lot of energy along that prefrontal boundary before that cold front moves on through, which means that if there's storms that form out in front of that, they're not going to be pushed off by anything else. What cold fronts tend to do is they tend to be a lot more of a strong damaging wind risk because they are taking all the leftover energy and they're just being forced out. They're being pushed through. There's no organization whatsoever unless if it's moving relatively slowly. And so therefore, it's not exactly all too conducive for your classic tornadoes that are like large, extremely dangerous, and supercellular. They can force QLCS tornadoes, which are smaller, more rapidly spinning tornadoes that don't have as long of a livelihood, but it still is a tornado regardless, and so, that could be your threat. But QLCS tornadoes are not exactly your strong tornadoes. Those are your quick spin-ups along the line. We're looking at the big tornadoes, the strong tornadoes that could potentially form from this event, and that would have to come from that boundary that we were talking about before it moves on through. And just to kind of illustrate as to where that boundary is, once again, you see right here, this boundary of red and pink that forms all the way down from northern Oklahoma into Texas and down to Mexico before our giant cold front moves on through, which our cold front is right here. I'll actually switch it back to the dew points. Actually, our warm front is up here, and then our cold front is from like Elk City, Oklahoma, down towards north of Del Rio, Texas. We'll go back to the dew points. You can see right there somewhat the outline of the gradient of moist dew points and dry dew points. So that boundary, man, that is really going to be something to watch out for as this continues to progress. I'm also going to bring in Morgan here because we've been talking about this event for quite a bit. But for people who have been here and have watched, or I should say are watching this after the fact, that's pretty much my issues with this event for the most part. I kind of told you guys why I think this is an interesting event that could definitely produce tornadoes. It's just, can things mix together to be the worst case scenario? We'll have to see, but regardless, please pay attention to the National Weather Service and the Storm Prediction Center as they will continue to monitor this daily. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make some content tomorrow. Definitely follow my Twitter because I actually am going to be posting a lot more on Twitter weather-wise. I think if there's anything significant weather-wise, I'm going to start posting threads on Twitter for people to actually look through. I find it a little bit easier than creating a video, because creating a video usually takes an enormous amount of time, and even going live like this on YouTube is a lot easier than creating a video. But I understand the reason why making videos are so, so good. So, at least for YouTube. So, let's bring in Morgan here. But if you have any questions, please be sure to put them in the chat as I continue to look through. But yeah, any questions? How's it looking for damaging winds in northwestern Arkansas on Friday? So the one thing that I will say about Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, and Louisiana is that within all of this, there is going to be strong damaging winds. As the Storm Protection Center has mentioned, the enhanced risk is for the strong damaging winds. The 3 out of 5 on the severe weather scale is for the strong damaging winds. And a big part of that is because of our cold front. You notice that our cold front moves on through with the NAM 3 kilometer, and how quickly these dew points kind of erode. That's because of our cold front that smacks through with all of this, and that can result to some very strong damaging winds. However, for northwestern Arkansas, it doesn't seem to be as significant as your counterparts to the south in like areas near Texarkana. So I wouldn't say it is as big of a threat for you up there towards like the Fayetteville areas, but I would still watch out for it regardless, as we have seen instances to where the models have I want to say evolved towards the wrong direction before. We've seen it happen, and it's just one of those things to where you would want to watch out. Now, my honest opinion with this, all right, at maximum, I think this event, for you, and this is an extremely unlikely scenario, would be a 3 out of 5 style event for wind. I don't think you guys are going to get tornadoes. I definitely don't think you guys are going to get hail. Strong damaging winds is definitely possible. At minimum, you're going to see rain. All right, let's put it that way. Let's take a look at what the composite reflectivity with this, and I'll actually go back to the model here so that you can kind of see here for the most part. You can see there are going to be showers and thunderstorms at minimum for you guys, but how significant they are, I don't think it's going to be as strong as your counterparts to the south. So I think a 2 out of 5 on the severe weather scale is respectable for your area. You guys might be in a severe thunderstorm watch. I definitely think the people to the south of you in like Oklahoma and Texas, I think they are going to be in a tornado watch. I do believe that. But I think you guys might be fine. Wonder when it will snow here in Minnesota. So believe it or not, there actually is a lot of winter storm warnings already in effect, even though it is November. So you probably would be, around the right time to actually have it. It isn't for Minnesota, of course, so not to debate you like that. But it's for California, Utah, and Colorado, so the usual culprits. As well as a winter storm watch for Washington, Idaho, and Oregon. So that's also something interesting. All right, let's take a look here. I'm going to try and answer as many questions as possible. Is this more of a QLCS event then? For the most part, yes. I do believe the squall line is going to be the big threat here from a strong damaging wind perspective. However, I do believe that these prefrontal showers and thunderstorms along the boundary that I mentioned earlier in the live stream, so these prefrontal showers and thunderstorms over here, could potentially be a risk for the area, with the worst case scenario being a strong tornado or two. But I do believe this will be primarily a strong damaging wind event within that area. Yeah, that's fine. Got to get prepared in Wichita Falls. I think definitely for a strong damaging wind threat for you guys. For the tornado threat, that's where things get really interesting. I think you guys might be a little too far west, but regardless, I would monitor Friday. You know, I've seen the Storm Prediction Center in some instances issue tornado watches outside of the main area, so like it would actually expand it to a couple counties outward. So if you guys got like a notification for a tornado watch, I really wouldn't be surprised. But as of right now, with what the models say, and we're still a couple days out, so things can change. Right now, it seems you're a little too far west from these prefrontal showers and thunderstorms that could produce your tornadoes. But from a damaging wind threat perspective, yes, I do believe you guys could get some of your showers and thunderstorms in that area. My mind is all over the place right now. I may sound better, and I actually do feel a little bit better, but I'm still coughing all over the place, and my brain is still not present. So I've addressed southern slash southeastern Oklahoma, and north central slash northeastern Texas, with a little hint of western Arkansas because someone requested it earlier. Yeah, well, not for tomorrow, for Friday, because tomorrow is a positively tilted trough, and no one likes those. Yeah. The funny thing about it too is when I actually checked the Storm Prediction Center this morning, um, it actually had a 5% chance for tornadoes for tomorrow, and then you take a look at it now, and it's a 2% chance. Yeah, they bumped it down to 2, so there is that. Oh yeah, earlier I had to do that because my headphones died, so I'll resort it back to the normal one, so that way it's not choppy anymore. My apologies, but all right, continuing to look through with questions. How will Dallas get affected throughout the event? So, that is an interesting question. Let's see if I can get um closer towards you guys. Uh, there you are. Yes. Actually, might be easier. There we go. What in the world? So you cannot see my face because I, for whatever reason, did not fix this output. But this gives you a general idea. All right. So just hope for the best. Yeah, this is a great mic arm. Just imagine this is my face right here. All right. Where the shadow is me. Look at that. The shadow in the corner. That is me. I think I have a photo of my face, but I'll put that on later. Um, but this is just a good perspective here for the people who live in central slash northeastern Texas. All right, you see your names of your cities or your local cities nearby. If there's any towns or any neighborhoods that is not present on here, please look towards an area that may be either A, within your same county, or B, within the same area to where you have a higher populous city nearby. All right. So, if someone were to ask, where's Rainbow, Texas? Rainbow, I'm not even sure if that's even a town or a city in Texas. But if you were to ask that, and yeah, imagine, if there was a Rainbow, Texas, and it was in the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area, please, assume that if there's any storms that are moving over the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area, it's going to impact Rainbow, Texas as well. What? What do you mean? Where does it exist? That's not legit. All right. I'm not gonna look on it. I'm just gonna continue to move along. We also have the top left-hand side, the time in Central Daylight Time. So if you're also gonna ask about that, it's over there too. So you look through. That is absolutely hilarious. I can't believe that. Just oh my gosh, that's not legit. If we take a look through here, you see how this plays out. A lot of these, little pop-up showers and thunderstorms that form along here, they start to kind of bolt north, but they're not really too strong right now. They'll start to become strong once you get towards Friday. And if my thing loads here, this is 18Z. There we go. Big boy model, Nate. There you go. You take a look. Past Thursday, you're into Friday now. And you see there's a lot more activity with these showers and thunderstorms. These little pop-ups, these little beans that you see on your screen, if they start to become more than beans, kind of similar to these yellow areas, then you probably could see a lot more severe weather within your area, maybe even conducive for some strong severe weather. Now, I've seen questions in chat ask about areas like College Station or Houston. I think you guys are going to be a little too far south for the main tornado risk, but I do think there will be a risk for you guys over there as well, particularly for strong damaging winds and maybe even a chance for a tornado. But you see here, huge band of showers and thunderstorms over here across southeastern Oklahoma in towards the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex area. That's going to be the area to watch, in my honest opinion. So if you live within those areas, it'll start sometime around, I would say, 2 p.m. Central Daylight Time. And that event or that portion of the event won't end until 5. Then you'll have the strong squall line that'll move on through with some strong damaging winds and maybe even a couple brief tornadoes along the line up and down. That will start to move in around 6, give or take, and more than likely end by 8. So I would definitely monitor that as it moves on through. But the big risk here would be the time period from 2 to 5 p.m. Central Daylight Time. I know that's a short window of opportunity, but if any storm can take advantage of that environment, can form along that vorticity band, along that boundary, it's going to probably produce something. So that is something to know. How's the hurricane/tropical storm? It just made landfall, or actually it made landfall, a couple hours ago in Belize City, which I've actually been there. I've actually been to Belize City before. Now, unfortunately, I've heard preliminary reports that storm surge inundation is taking a heavy toll on the city due to its very weak infrastructure, and I can account to this because I've been there before. I do note that there is some very weak infrastructure over there in Belize City, so please keep them in your prayers as they are experiencing that hurricane making landfall. I did earlier. Let me take a look back at the questions in chat. Excuse me. Let's actually change it back to a screen that is actually acceptable. There you go. Now you can see my face once again instead of the shadow of my mic arm. Let's see. What do I think about Tennessee on Saturday? Definitely a strong damaging wind risk in my honest opinion. Maybe could see a small tornado risk within that as well. But I don't believe there's going to be a whole lot of energy within that environment. So it's going to be really hard to do so. Yeah, I agree. Really specific, but is it worth becoming a meteorologist in terms of money? And if so, what classes should you take in high school / college? Definitely get into trigonometry. All right, trigonometry. I think all colleges with meteorology class or meteorology degrees in them require trigonometry within your prerequisites before you actually take on the degree. So if you haven't done calculus or if you haven't done trigonometry at minimum, please take that. Don't make the same mistake that I did because my guidance counselor, I actually told my guidance counselor to do a little bit of research, and I did a little bit of research on what I needed to do to actually try and get a meteorology degree. My guidance counselor told me to not take trigonometry because she thought it wasn't necessary to take meteorology. And when I stepped up to Penn State and I said, hey, I wanted to do meteorology, they said, hey, you didn't take trigonometry, so you got to take it in college. And that's an extra year, an extra round of money that you got to put into a college to where it could have easily been avoided if you just did it in high school. So trigonometry, they are a pain. Meteorology, the thing of it is there's two different divisions in meteorology that you can look at. There's the scientific aspect of meteorology that you can approach, or the broadcast meteorology. One contains a lot more math, and the other one not really as much. I think I've heard that you only need to take calculus 1 if you're going to go into broadcast meteorology, whereas if you're going into the scientific field, National Weather Service and stuff like that, you would have to go beyond calculus 1 into calculus 2, 3, and of course more physics classes and stuff like that. So it's unless if you're in a city, like a big city. Yeah. Right. I mean, the one thing I have heard is that after you become a meteorologist and you do get a good paying job, the pay pays for the debt. So, because every college student will have debt going out of college. So if you're worrying about having debt, going into college, everyone's going to have it. All right. It's just how much debt you'll have at the end of college. Um, and so if you get into a good paying job, it pays for itself. So that's one thing that I can note with that. Just putting up here the graphic once again for severe weather on Friday. You can see there's a 1 out of 5 in the severe weather scale in dark green, 2 out of 5 in yellow, and 3 out of 5 in orange. So if you are in those areas, those would be the areas I would watch the most, especially if you're in the higher ends of the scale within this event. I would watch those areas in particular rather than areas in the white or in the light green. How about Tennessee? Anything for them? Maybe some damaging wins on Saturday, but other than that, not really too much. I don't really foresee too much with that over there. Should you be concerned in Dallas Fort Worth? Not right now. Not right now. I would start being aware. That's the one thing I would do. All right. The big thing with these storms, with these prefrontal storms that occur within a storm system like this, the storms that form out in front of like a cold front are very, very hard to predict. There's so many different factors that go into it compared to a cold front, to where you have all the energy that is exorbited within that area. So I wouldn't be concerned. I would be aware. And I would be prepared just in case. I wouldn't overly prepare. All right. I wouldn't say it's like doomsday, the end of the world. I wouldn't say that. All right. But have a plan of action just in case. If you are under a tornado warning, make sure you know where to go. All right. If they issue a tornado watch, make sure all your plans are in place so that if the worst case scenario does happen, you can immediately go towards it. But just because a tornado watch gets issued does not mean that the worst case scenario happens in your specific spot. It's just the National Weather Service and the Storm Prediction Center's version of saying, hey, today might be a little bit different than what you guys typically would have on a normal day. Could definitely be some strong storms within your area. So just be on the watch out and make sure to plan accordingly if it does happen. So, yes, of course. Oh, yeah, you can't. Wow. Yeah, they can't hear you at all. That's kind of funny. Tells you how rusty I've been. Although.
My God.
Anyways, fun stuff.
My name is Nate, and I'm not doing this correctly.
You heard it here first, folks. Pope County, Russellville, Arkansas, going to get any tornadoes Friday night. Russellville? Aren't you guys like all the way up in between Fort Smith and Little Rock? Yeah, you guys are. Honestly, no. I think you guys will be a little too far east. I think you guys are definitely getting some strong damaging winds within your area. Yeah, school is pretty mock ass. Sup, Andrew? How do y'all do? How's Houston looking on this day? Houston, I definitely think is going to get some strong damaging winds. Not really a high chance for tornadoes, but I do think you guys could definitely get some stuff. Yeah, it's it's good to be back temporarily. Hopefully I'm back for a lot longer time period now, but college is a pain in my rear. So
You're also still not fully present with us because you still sound like half of your soul is dead.
half of my soul is dead. My heart and soul is full of holes. Let's see. Will I be live on Friday for the enhanced? I plan to, barring that I am healthy. I'm recovering from a sickness, and I can kind of feel my head kind of flare up the more I talk, which is the reason why I'm taking a lot more breaks than I usually would. Usually I would be like rambling the entire time on a stream, but
yeah.
Today you can definitely tell I am not.
I'll be on if he ain't.
True. Morgan will, in which I'll be able to tell you guys with that. The one thing that I will say, though, to kind of counter that statement that I just had, though, is please make sure you follow me on Twitter, because I plan to be more active there weather-wise, as well as, whatever recreational stuff I decide to do on there as well. Because you guys know me, I like to talk about sports every now and then, of course, when there isn't anything happening. So I kind of just say whatever I want on Twitter, but I also plan to provide more threads so that people can kind of read and understand what I am thinking about, what my thought process is with some weather events. So I highly recommend that if you would like to know more about what I think about with weather, or if I'm going to be doing anything with weather, or if I'm going to live stream stuff like that, make sure you follow me on Twitter, Nate Snyder. Do I think a Mayfield level event is likely late this year? I highly doubt it. Mayfield last year, last
Mayfield
December,
was very was that
last
was
December
quite.
was
I
so
wouldn't.
anomalous. It's not even funny.
I won't say that was a generational outbreak, but it's so unlikely that that happens again.
I mean, yet there has been tornado events in December before. A long track tornado or a long track supercell, I should say, that was like that one. You rarely even get those in April, May, or June. So
Just forget how long it went. Its strength.
yeah, even the strength of
That
it.
was one of the strongest of last year.
I think it was the strongest of last year.
I don't think. I think there was last year it was still in 2021, so we had 317 and 325. Remember those things.
Yeah.
I think those had stronger ones.
The one in Georgia, you think it was stronger?
What's it called? What was that place called? I forgot.
Yes. Noonan.
Noonan.
You think that?
Yeah, Dominic lives down there.
Yeah.
I think it was either that was Centerville that strong? What was Centerville?
Centerville was a low 4, I believe.
Low 4?
Believe. And that kind of makes sense, Cassie. That kind of does make sense. Are the hurricanes responsible for this weather pattern? Stay hydrated. Yeah, I've got my water right next to me. It's over here. I've been drinking intermittently. But the hurricanes are actually influenced by the weather pattern. So believe it or not, the effects of weather, with all the rain, all the tornadoes, all the hurricanes, they are actually impacted by the specific weather patterns that are ongoing at whatever given time. So I do believe that with this current weather pattern, it could still be interesting severe weather-wise, but I haven't seen anything that has been completely outrageous to dictate as to whether or not there could be more severe weather. Could be interesting winter this year, though, I will admit. But
more and more models toward the end of this year are trending toward a neutral phase. I wonder if we're finally going to get out of this Nina, which might also mean that the plains partially wakes up again.
Right. What's up, Joshy boy? How do I do? Anything for Topeka? Nah, they're way too far here within this event. So they'll be fine. Central Arkansas might see some strong damaging winds. So I would watch out for that overnight from Friday into Saturday. But other than that, it's not really going to be too strong. What about the Michigan areas on Saturday and Sunday? I do think it is going to be a kind of windy for you guys over there too, but not from a severe perspective. I think it might be a little bit too
Windy
cold
rain.
up there. So definitely some strong damaging winds up within that area. Any tornado threat for Dallas-Fort Worth? Yes. From 2 to 5 p.m. Central Daylight Time on Friday, it will be potentially tornadic within that area. So I would watch out for that heavily. Which is harder, Trig or Calc? Calc. Trig is prior to Calc.
Once you get into it, Trig's a pain. Calc is straightforward.
Have you done Calc
Calc
2?
is Calc is very formulaic.
That may be so, but from what I've heard, Calc 2 is hell on earth.
I mean,
You go in, huh?
calc work that I've been doing is all right. Now, my opinion may change roughly a year and a half from
Yeah.
now, but who knows?
Well, do you remember Brendan Ruff?
Yeah, yeah.
So when he was in northern Vermont going for his Met degree, he was like, all right, I'm pretty confident about Calc. I'm doing pretty well. I'm going into Calc 2. Next year, failed the class. Next year, failed the class. Next year, finally passed the class. Looked at me when we were in the actual VC and said, dude, Calc 2 is terrible. Oh my. Don't want to do that ever again. He's wicked smart too. The thing of it is he's very smart. I mean, you've talked to him before with me way back when we were starting to get into the Discord community. He's wicked smart. All right. Calc
When
2,
I was starting to get into the Discord community, I think you were already well in it.
I was kind of in it still. I was loosely. What's up, Evan? How do? Nice to see you around. Do you have an idea of the setup for Friday? You plan to watch the storms on Radar Omega? Yeah, it'll be more of a prefrontal showers and thunderstorms from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock Central. So that'd be 3 to 6 Eastern over the Dallas Metroplex, as well as into southeastern Oklahoma. That would be the highest tornado threat in regards to significant tornadoes. But after that, a big cold front is going to move on through. You'll see a big line that starts to move through Dallas. And that'll be your strong damaging wind threat that starts to clear out the rest of the area.
You're me using Fort Worth radar a lot throughout the day on Friday.
Is
Especially
Illinois
considering
safe?
Texarkana doesn't have a radar.
That is pretty unfortunate. Yeah, Illinois should be safe. Should be. What about the Tyler and Longview areas? I do believe they are going to see some strong damaging winds, but it would be more of an overnight threat for you all. Let's see if I can go back to this. Once again, my face is not here, so you're just going to have to deal with my microphone. Definitely did not have enough time to edit my layout, but oh, that's no longer severe warn. That's pretty funny. But
it is minorly rotating though, I will say.
But it
saw
is
someone in the chat. Saw someone ask about Louisiana. Western Louisiana is in the 2 out of 5 for damaging winds. Most likely it'll be damaging winds. Eastern Louisiana is in the 1 out of 5, and New Orleans is in the general. So could see some gusty winds throughout the late afternoon, early evening hours as the line pushes through. I don't expect y'all to be impacted by too many of the prefrontal activity unless you may be in Shreveport. Maybe you'll see a little bit of that then. If you are in areas, if you're in central, southern Louisiana, Lake Charles vicinity, we could say, you could say what's that place? Alexandria. If you guys are in there, you guys could see some strong damaging winds, not as much tornadic activity.
What about the Waco area? Waco probably will see some strong damaging winds. There could be a small chance that they could be a part of the prefrontal tornado activity, but they also could be pretty far south as well. They could be on the southern end of that. So
that also could be where the line initially develops. So maybe they do have a shot at a little bit of tornadic activity.
That's what I was kind of thinking a little bit with the prefrontals. For the actual cold front in itself, you guys will get that, and that'll be sometime around 6 Central. So I would watch out for that as that continues to pile through. As I said, Tyler and Longview, you guys will get your stuff. It'll be overnight from Friday into Saturday, sometime around 9, 10, and 11 p.m. What about Mena, Arkansas? You guys are mainly going to see your strong damaging winds. Not anticipated to see too much from that, to be completely honest with you. But you'll see the the radar as this continues to pile on. You'll finally start to get your heavier showers and thunderstorms sometime around 6 to 7, and then the line actually catches up to you at about 10 to 11 before finally making its way past you at about midnight. Yes, it is going west.
West. Not this again.
It is going west. I don't know about you, but converting back and forth between measurements for me is actually pretty easy, but that could just be a me thing. I might do that, Jasmine. I'm not as much of a tea drinker, but I definitely can.
You may need to make a exception.
Just put as much sugar in it as possible and hope for the best. Then it's not tea at that point.
No, then it's soda without the carbonation.
It's teed sugar. Was it a 5 that hit Mayfield? Nope, it was a very high-end EF4 at 190 miles per hour. Yeah, I hope I'm live regularly as well. College has just been a pain in my rear. Hopefully I start live streaming more on YouTube. I don't think I want to do videos and stuff like that. I see the merit behind it, but for the type of videos that I want to do, number one, I mess up all the time, and number two, me editing them is a pain in the rear. And
Editing, I've watched him edit. It takes an hour.
It takes
an hour.
And I can try and hire an editor, but the fact of the matter is that I don't.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Well, there's two things with that. Number one, all right, whenever I make a video, I usually want to get it out as quickly as possible. And so, who knows if my editor is right there doing things, or whatnot. So by the time I get the video back, it may be a lot, further down the line, and it may not be as urgent on his part than me doing it. And on the other hand, even if I still were making the same amount of money that I was before when I was doing this in my prime on YouTube, I probably still wouldn't have had enough money to hire one. So
it's also a much more different thing when he's working on his own schedule. When you're trying to work on someone else's schedule, it gets a little bit different.
About living.
And it's not like Nate really has the following or money to hire his channel specific editor. It's not as easy as that.
Yeah, it's.
And I can't edit to save my life, so.
At least you know. Livingston, Texas is all the way over there. I think you guys are probably going to see some strong damaging winds for the most part. I don't think you guys are going to see any more than that, though. So I think you guys should be fine.
Oh. Hey, Nate.
Yeah,
we
strong
forgot
damaging
something.
winds. Particularly at 10 to 11. That's when you guys could probably see it. What did we forget?
The HRRR is running. It's at 6Z Friday.
Well, you better go catch it.
Yeah, I'm going. It's going to snow in the Rockies. Breaking news.
Yeah, Calc 3, from what I've heard, is easier than Calc 2. Calc 2 is the hardest calc out of all of them, from what I've heard. Yeah, you should take trigonometry in high school if you want to become a meteorologist. Trigonometry pre-calc. Please take it. Don't make the same mistake that I made. Made my life in college way more difficult. What about White House, Texas?
White House.
That's south of Tyler. Yeah, you guys are definitely going to see some strong damaging winds.
Possibly a tornadic threat.
QLCS tornado threat.
Yes.
That would probably be on the lower end of the spectrum. So I would say more of a strong damaging wind threat. Look for it at around 9:30, 10, maybe even 11 at the latest. But it'll start to pass through at about midnight. So you guys should be all right. As long as you make it through the strong damaging wind threat, should be good. I did, Derek. I did. As I said,
Wait.
I've got a lot of college stuff, but I plan to live stream more, whether I'm just forecasting or talking about weather in general. I plan to do that more. It's just very hard for me to kind of find time to do so, but
Hey, Nate. Could you do me a solid?
I will try to do it more often. Yeah, what's up?
Go on to Weather Bell. I would like you to go into the 0ZH I would like you to look at 850 vorticity and compare it to the NAM runs.
On what model?
HRRR 0Z. 3 kilometer HRRR.
I need to back out from the city. I need to go to Texas as a state. Would this hit Wood County east of Dallas? Yes, it would. Anywhere near or around Dallas at all, within a 3 to 4 county radius, you're going to get hit on Friday. Whether it's strong damaging winds or a tornado or two, we'll see. But you guys will get hit by something.
The HRRR is going to make this trough go negative. This thing's going to crank.
There's the cold front. Where's the prefrontal boundary, though?
It's not present because it's at 10Z.
Oh, yeah, I guess that is true.
But just look at the trough, like the angle of the trough compared to the other models. And another thing I'm noticing is not only is it more negative, but it's also a little bit more out in front. So this may shove the risk east on this run.
Yeah. All this talk about trig and calc being hard might not be a meteorologist anymore. Let's put it this way. Once you're done with college, usually all of your calculations are already put in an algorithm so that the math is done for you. All right? That's the fun part. Is that when you have your robot do it or your program do it for you, you don't actually have to do stuff. So that's one thing. It's a forecast from Mississippi. Mississippi, I do believe you guys are going to see some severe weather on Saturday, but it's not really going to be too much. And it's not really going to be as high of a threat either. So I think you guys should be fine. But I do think there will be weather present within your area from the severe weather perspective. Let me actually take a look at that and see. Louisiana. And let's go with the NAM. NAM's running too. Wow, that's kind of funny. Saturday. Yeah, you guys will see some severe weather. Maybe some small amounts of severe weather, but you guys could see some stuff. What's happening on... Yeah, very low Cape numbers on Saturday for the deep south. Even though it's a negatively tilted trough, definitely is some stuff. Slight energy, but I don't think there's gonna be too much. How will this storm affect my
Wait a
grass
second.
in Northern Alabama? I mean, it might rain, which may cause your grass to grow some more. But
Wait. Nate,
what?
issue.
What?
That thing is the boundary.
No, it ain't.
Yeah, it is.
No, it ain't.
Yeah.
There's no freaking way it is. Let's go to where is it?
Yeah, not
Right.
only is it slightly more negative,
850. We have
that
that.
is a strong boundary.
Nope, that's the cold front. Go to dew point.
Nah.
Go to dew point.
Let me compare that 1 second to what is that point?
What you looking for, the pseudo boundary?
I'm looking. It's almost a triple point there, setup type area. Well, I know that won't come to fruition.
Missouri might see something on Saturday. That might be something interesting. But other than that, not really too much in the future. Maybe just some strong damaging winds. So your casual showers and thunderstorms. What you mean just have you for $1.99? Basically $2. Should be good for an editor for like 3 minutes. You know, that could, you could probably edit like a explosion as I clap my hands or something like that. That's a 3-minute edit right there. An entire video as you have realized yourself it is hell upon earth to try and undertake.
Ew. Okay, so the HRRR is the boundary present at 13Z. I can tell looking at dew points.
Mm.
It is slightly weaker though. That
Tell
is
me
a
timing.
strong front
Fort Worth
though.
on Friday. Probably already talked about it already. Yeah, so Dallas, Fort Worth. Fort Worth might be actually a little too far west, but it's around the same area, so I would watch it anyways. The timing would be specifically around 2 to 5 for the tornado threat, 2 to 5 p.m. for the highest tornado threat. And it's mainly for these little discrete thunderstorms out in front of it that could become supercells. And then from 5 to 6, 5 to 6, you have a new line that's going to move on through. That'll be your strong damaging wind threat rather than a tornado threat. What's up, Seth? I've been doing okay besides the fact of me recovering from a sinus infection, but other than that, it's been all right. About Clarksville, Texas. Clarksville. Clarksville, Texas. They will be northeast. So you guys will definitely see some severe weather. In regards to what type of severe weather, I think you have the chance for both. For you guys, you might actually have the prefrontal showers and thunderstorms sometime around 6 to 7, maybe even 8 o'clock. But then you'll have a line that starts to move on through here at about 9. And let me actually zoom it in so that you can kind of see. There you go. Timing is all the way up here, the top left-hand part of your screen. It is also me trying to figure out where everyone lives there. But the line will start to approach your area sometime around 9 to 10. So I would definitely watch out for that. Mena, Arkansas looking good. Yeah, they should be fine. Just some strong damaging winds, but that's pretty much it. Gotta say, I'm glad to see that everyone is doing all right with themselves. I apologize for not being on too much. Hoping that I am going to be on a lot more. Once again, I hope, keyword hope, to try and live stream on Friday. I hope to also try and do a lot more stuff. I also, if I am going to try and make videos, or if I am going to do live streams and stuff like that, I am going to use a similar format that I did earlier on in the live stream, which is basically, I'm going to kind of tell you what we know, and then I'm going to give my questions or thoughts on how this event could be better or worse or stuff like that. Because I feel like that's just being a lot more transparent with you guys, as well as you guys kind of seeing the thought process of how I approach these events and how I continue to try and, I guess, better my forecasting more or less. And I also try to make it so that you guys can also understand the technical terms of meteorology, so that way we all are on the same page as well, and you guys can kind of see, once again, where I'm kind of coming from. But I appreciate you guys being here and stuff like that. It does mean a lot. What's the chance for severe weather here in South Central Kansas? Kansas doesn't really, isn't really in this event for the most part. I think this is going to be more strong damaging winds, if anything, for you guys. But the majority of your area is in a 1 out of 5 on the severe weather scale for both Thursday and Friday. San Antonio, I think you guys can definitely see some strong damaging winds. I definitely do believe you guys could see some stuff. Let's see if I can, there you go. There's a good viewpoint for you all. Yeah, you guys can see, you guys, well, actually, according to this line might miss you guys, but possible some scattered showers and thunderstorms around your area at 3 to 4. So that might be interesting. San Antonio might actually be in the risk. That'd be pretty good. Will Tulsa see tornadoes? I kind of doubt it. I think they're too far northeast. I think it's more the areas near the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area and east of that. So, yeah, see ya, Pyro. Appreciate you coming out tonight. Yeah, weather has been pretty bad in regards to activity, which is also kind of the reason why I haven't posted as much. Usually, if I post, it's for a good reason. All right, and I often try to post for events that are relatively impactful. I guess my fault with this channel and just me as a creator in general, though, is me not posting when there is nothing going on. So, that can be led towards people forgetting that I exist on YouTube, or people just leaving the channel because they think that I'm not there anymore. So, it's kind of interesting you say that, Derek. It's kind of interesting you say that. Believe it or not, on YouTube, I actually have one of the highest tenures in regards to a channel staying up on YouTube for this type of weather presentation. And I'm not afraid to even be a little transparent about this too, because I feel like you guys deserve to kind of know the inside thought process of my brain as well. I would have thought that probably could have had a higher viewership output, especially at my peak. But it just didn't happen. And because of that, did kind of get to me a little bit. You know, especially seeing everyone else. You know, and I thought they thrived better than I thought I could. That did kind of get to me a little teeny bit. And it's not, you know, you can always say it's jealousy, but the fact of the matter is that for me, jealousy is purely wanting their situation. All right? But in order to get their situation, they would have had to done stuff their way in order to get to that point. And in some instances, I just don't agree with it. So, you know. Thought Schlotthauer was on longer. That was until he deleted his channel numerous times. So, that's the reason why I say longest tenured single channel. Because my channel's been on for a while. So. But it is what it is, honestly. My plan here on YouTube, of course, I still plan to upload and stuff like that, but I've been transparent about my one goal. That is to try and get a play button at the end of all of it. Of course, it sounds pretty self-centered, but, you know, I got nothing for that. It is a little self-centered. I do agree. I think the one thing that I can say about a play button is that back in the early stages of YouTube's prime, so like early 2010s to mid 2010s, you know, right when Minecraft got really popular and stuff like that, you had people like Skyda's Minecraft, Sunday, Jerome, ASF, and Bayesian Canadian. I'm talking about my childhood here and stuff like that, watching stuff. You know, they talk about how they got silver play buttons and gold play buttons. And as a kid, you know, thinking about that, I always fantasized of what would it be like if I got to that point, right? And I'm sure other kids have done it too. You know, I've asked my friends and say, hey, what would it be like if you were Skyda's Minecraft? And they would say, it would be pretty cool, or, you know, some other content creator, stuff like that. So, you know, when I say it's a little self-centered, yeah, it sure is. But I guess you can say it's a little bit of a dream of mine that I had as a child to get to that point. Now, would I ever would have thought it was because of weather? Probably not, but you know, it's just...
Hey, Nate.
Yeah.
Go ahead and consider on the run.
Is it out now completely?
Not completely, but through hour 46.
Coolio. Alright, time to react to the 0ZH ladies and gentlemen. Enough about my fantasies.
What about Jonathan Taylor?
Yeah, please, Jonathan Taylor, do stuff. Stop making me regret life choices.
Didn't practice today.
So that's the cold front. Oh, that's the prefrontal boundary. Look at that.
Yeah. It is
11 Z it starts to form, and then at 16, 17 Z it finally does stuff. Wow. Huh. So let's take a look at that with the HRRR then. Now you guys get to really see how I approach stuff. Let's actually go into full Omega sat view, which is just my full screen. You guys can see how I look at this now. All right, let's take a look at composite reflectivity with the 0Z. That's 1Z. And that is the pivotal weather main site. No, I want 0Z. This is just regular. Oh, wow. Oh,
yeah.
What? What?
Yeah.
What?
We've got issues. We've got issues.
It's not even a full squall line anymore. It's broken.
It's just supercells.
It's broken. All right. Well, that's the one main difference from the NAM and the HRRR. The HRRR loves things to be discreet here for this event on Friday, and that is not exactly the best case scenario. Oh yeah, that is a supercell right there. Wow, that is a
supercell that goes right
That's
through Dallas.
That's a supercell. HRRR is a supercell printer. Let's storm motion with all these storms.
That
Northeast.
that
Dude, this event reminds me of Canton. Even though it's not exactly Canton, it is somewhat similar to Canton.
This is kind of problematic if this verifies. This is actually very problematic if this verifies.
All I gotta say is that by the time we get to day one, convective outlook on Friday morning, early Friday morning at 2 o'clock.
My gosh.
2 o'clock in the morning, it's probably going to be a 10% chance for tornadoes. It probably is. And it probably will be a SIG risk for tornadoes as well. Let's take a look at the parameters now. All right, let's not freak out completely.
Low level lapse rates are trash.
That's kind of the reason. So the one thing I will say about this chat, and this is always going to be a thing. All right. So remember how I was talking about in the beginning of the stream, if you were with me there, that the cold front is pretty much set in stone regardless of what event you have ever. All right. Your cold front will always bring strong damaging winds. It'll always continue to push on through because it is channeling all that energy together and it is absorbing it out into output of thunderstorms. Now, when you have boundaries out in front of those cold fronts, they're not as strong, all right? There's not as much forcing within that area. So it comes with some issues that the likelihood of thunderstorms forming along those prefrontal boundaries, they're not as high as the cold front, but there is still a decent chance. But it's almost 50-50 at that point. All right, so the cold front, you're probably guaranteed to get stuff unless if there's a limiting factor in the atmosphere that prevents the thunderstorms from occurring. So capping inversion, for instance. With the prefrontal thunderstorms out in front of the cold front, you also have other things such as lapse rates being weak. And that is a heck of a sounding that I just pulled up. That is some legit streamwise vorticity from 0 to 3 kilometers. That's wow. Okay. Well, we know what type of day this is going to be. But lapse rates. All right. For instance, what a lapse rate basically is if you look at what type of lapse rate you have. All right. So I take a look at the bottom left-hand side here. Surface to 3 kilometer AGL lapse rate. So that's above ground level lapse rate. What that's saying is it takes the rate in which the change of temperature from the surface to 3 kilometers, and it puts it out as an output. So the surface to 3 kilometer lapse rate above ground level is 5.8 degrees Celsius per kilometers. For every kilometer, the lapse rate or the temperature drops 5.8 degrees Celsius. If it gets to that 7 degrees Celsius frame, then even that's pretty concerning.
6.5.
Yeah, and even 6.5. For this event, 6.5 will do it. 6.5 will do it. If you find anywhere near 6.5 degrees Celsius per kilometer from surface to 3 kilometers, it'll do it. All right. But within this sounding, this is the only limiting factor. You don't have a very high lapse rate, which means that it could limit showers and thunderstorms from ultimately developing. Over here, so that's a 6 degree Celsius per kilometer lapse rate right there from surface to 3. So once again, not completely up there yet. The hodograph, however, reminds me of a long track tornado like hodograph. You have a lot of streamwise from 0 to 1, and then from 2 to 3, it's crosswise. Whenever you have that, there's numerous analogs of that being more of a long track tornado type sounding. Just whether or not they can be sustained is, the real question with that. I'm going to be a cherry picker real quickly. So for all the people who actually know stuff about meteorology,
STP.
for all the people that actually know about meteorology, you're allowed to be disappointed in me because I am going to see the worst case scenario, which is the highest unlikely scenario with this. But I just got to laugh at the model to see what the worst case scenario is because, that's what?
Doom casting.
Wow, the HRRR does print supercells. That's not legit. That's pretty funny. Okay. That is very contaminated, so we're not gonna look at that.
Stop dying.
No. That is linear. That's more of a squall line. Actually, is it more of a squall line the further south you go? Yes.
Yeah, a little bit more so. Do me a favor and check DMs.
Oh yeah, that is fun. And you want to know the other
Yeah.
fun thing about that, right?
There's no radar
There is
coverage.
no radar out there.
We're gonna be forced to use either Fort Smith or Dallas.
Yeah, it does.
And I don't think I want to use either
every
of
hour.
them.
The only thing about it though is that the HRRR has runs up to 48 hours every 6 hours. So you have one at 0Z, 6Z, 12Z, 18, and back to 0. Yeah, I kind of want to see this real quickly under the reflectivity with helicity. No, I don't want to contact pivotal weather. I want to go to northeastern Texas. Yeah, that's funny.
Hey Nate, if I may just drift off topic for a very short period of time here.
No, you can't.
Well, oh well. It is 5-0 Houston, top 5.
Ouch.
Jose Alvarado has given up 2-run singles to Bregman and McCormick, I believe. And the game has been broken open.
And as an ouch. You can't keep the Astros down for too long. Yeah, those helicity tracks are pretty interesting. I want to take a look at the photographs within this. This will really give me a good idea as to where the environment is particularly the more unstable. Honestly, I think any storm that forms well out in front of the boundary, the furthest eastern storm that's formed out in front of the boundary, could probably go. At least according to the photographs. The veering seems to be a lot more significant the further northeast you go. So the further south you are, the more of a squall line it typically would associate towards. Furthest east you go, the more veering you could potentially have. And if you can get more veering with height within a particular environment, then usually a better environment for tornadoes. 18, 19, 20. Now, the one thing I will say, one thing that I think could be the worst case scenario is if you had a mesovortice develop along this line. If a mesovortice develops along this boundary, this could blow it wide open. You wouldn't be able to know until probably the day of if there's a mesovort that develops along the line. But I do believe that if that were to occur, that would be the worst case scenario. But I saw it hinted in the lower resolutions of the NAM. The lower resolution of the NAM is the lower resolution of the NAM, and it's not exactly specific. So sometimes it can be pretty whack like that. In a lot of these higher resolution models, I haven't seen it. So I don't really anticipate it too much. On the other hand, I do want to see with the HRRR, you mentioned about the tilt of the trough. I want to actually see for myself. Ooh. Looks somewhat neutral, maybe going towards a negatively tilted trough towards 0Z. It's definitely neutral. I think the one consistency here is that this trough going through on Friday is a neutral trough, which can support both strong damaging winds and tornadoes, but not the higher
Not
end
positive.
of either. Yeah, it's not positive. So that's the one thing we know. It also could be the reason why the HRRR is printing so many supercells. Yeah, so basically, the reason why a mesovortice would be the worst case scenario is because the surface winds would deviate instead of it coming from the south. So if I go back to the winds here on the dew points, all the way over here. There we go. All right, so we have our winds here on the dew points. You notice our wind barbs. You see these little flags just like this. If you draw an arrow at the end of it, the arrow is pointing towards where the wind is going, and that's essentially what you need to know from that. You don't need to know about the flags unless if you want to know the intensities of the wind. And that essentially isn't all too important, I guess, in this instance for right now. But you notice here with our wind barbs, you see you have a lot of wind barbs moving through from west to east here behind the cold front. And then from the south, you notice we have a lot of south to north movement. And then you notice our warm front is actually positioned at an angle, a very obtuse angle here. And so whenever you really have that, that could be an indicator that the wind shear is actually moving parallel with the warm front. It could be moving parallel with the warm front right there. And that doesn't really indicate a whole lot of veering with height. So when you have winds that are moving in the upper levels like this, and then in the lower levels like that, it doesn't really veer too much. Whereas in order to have significant veering winds, you want the surface winds to be perpendicular to the upper level winds. So that way you have full streamwise vorticity with height. So the more streamwise vorticity you can get, the higher the chance there could be for tornadoes, given that the environment has enough energy to obviously do so. But there isn't really as much streamwise vorticity. From the looks of it, it's only from the extreme surface, and then once you get towards the mid-levels, starts to turn into crosswise vorticity. Is there good wind shear? Yeah, there appears to be good wind shear. It's just not all going in the right direction for the most part for tornadoes, with the exception of one specific spot, which would be in northeastern Texas, maybe even extreme southeastern Oklahoma. Thursday's threat for severe weather is decreased. Do I think it will increase by tomorrow? And if so, where? No, I think it'll be the same, honestly. Thursday's event is not really
As
going
of
to be...
now.
Yeah, Thursday's event, my honest opinion, is not expected to be too significant. The only reason why I say that is because the way the trough disproportioned. Um, it is not favorable for real significant weather, more for strong damaging winds than tornadoes. And the way I can tell is if you were to circle, or I should say, circle this loop here within the trough, just like this. If you were to have this leaning from the bottom to the top, leaning towards the right, that's a positively tilted trough, and that's more favorable for gusty winds and stuff like that. If you go in the middle, kind of similar to what's happening here, that is a neutrally tilted trough. And then all the way over to the side, kind of like this, that's a negatively tilted trough, which is favorable for tornadoes. Are we going to get a moderate for Friday? I kind of doubt it. I think enhanced with 10 sig is reasonable. I'm not saying it's completely out of the question, but I kind of do believe that it is a little unreasonable. But yeah, I do think this could be a 10% significant risk for tornadoes. I do believe that. All right, any other questions? When will these storms be going to hit Indianola, Mississippi? Saturday. Saturday it will. We also still have a couple days until this event really is going to happen. I plan to try and live stream on Friday. I will try, I should say. I'll try and give more updates on Twitter. I plan to provide more threads on Twitter for just weather in general. So if you like that, like reading stuff, it's easier for me to actually put it out for people. That'd be a good place to watch. I live in Denison, Texas. What time will it get here? Good question. Will we get a bad tornado on Friday? It's very hard to say, honestly. Especially this far out. It has the potential to try and have a significant tornado. But I still have a lot of questions. I still have a lot of questions on fundamentally can it. Denison. Hey, I should have known where Denison was. I've heard of Denison before. Denison will get some severe weather. It'll be, I should say you guys should be getting your activity, at least the heightened tornado threat from 2 to 5. And then from 5 to 6 and even 7 o'clock afterwards will be strong damaging wind threat before it'll finally move out of your area at 8 o'clock. That's all central, by the way. So basically, watch out for severe weather from 2 o'clock until 8 o'clock. Only way I would go moderate is for wind. If it does turn into a QLCS. I mean, possibly, but I don't even think that'll be the case either. I think it'll be too weak for that. Or I think Lincoln, Nebraska will be for tomorrow's severe weather. Do I think it'll be mainly further south of that area? I do kind of believe so. I think you guys are going to be a little too far north. Might see a little bit of some, damaging winds, but it's just, there isn't a whole lot of energy that far north. I think the SPC goes day 2, 10 hatched based on the HRRR. I think in the midday outlook on tomorrow, in the middle of the day, I think they will. Tonight, probably not. I think they go 5. But by the time we get towards day 1, it will be 10% hatched, regardless. So, will Kansas get severe weather? It is unlikely that you guys will get strong severe weather, but you could get, just general severe weather. Just not really strong. Not very strong. Damaging winds, how high? Probably 65, maybe 70 miles per hour at most with your wind gusts.
Not likely significant.
Yeah, not likely significant.
Significant wind, like what the SPC deems significant, which is 70 plus.
Actually, it's 74 plus, which is hurricane force winds.
Damage to considerables are 70. And I
You said
believe
the SPC, not the NWS.
$65 knots is not.
Yeah, it is.
Are you sure about that?
Do the calc. Anyways, so
It's actually
74.
75. We're both wrong.
Still a little higher. Anyways, it's Hurricane Force winds. You can go away. Well, Altus, Oklahoma getting severe weather. Honestly, I think you guys are going to be a little too far north to really get the main threat. And even too far west as well. But I do think you guys could see some residual weather. So it'll be in the earlier stages of the day, in the afternoon, I should say. Let's see if I can actually get it up here. There's Lawton. Altus is to the left of it. All right, good enough. Good enough. Zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out. There you go. Excuse me. Yeah, you guys can see some weather, just not really too strong, to be completely honest with you. It'll be more towards the earlier stages of the day, probably at 10 a.m. It won't be severe, though, from the looks of it. What about Nashville? I think you guys could get some strong damaging ones on Saturday, but not really too significant compared to Friday. So I think you guys should be all right. Yeah, I am pretty weird that way, but I think I'm going to be doing that more often, just streaming in general. It is a huge hassle to try and edit a video, try and record a video and edit a video, especially since I tend to make a lot of mistakes. And editing out those mistakes, as well as editing, fun stuff that may be interesting to other people, is very, very time consuming. And for a channel that prides itself on trying to get information out as quickly as possible, it's kind of, yeah, excruciating. Excruciatingly bad. Strong low pressure system came through California yesterday. Yep, it's marching its way towards the Central Plains right now as we speak. All right, is there anything else? By the way, if you came here late, all right, and you have no idea what's happening on Friday, that's all right. When the stream ends, you can go to the beginning of the stream, and I will literally tell you what's going on and what my concerns are with this event in regards to what in all actuality could happen. So, that is one thing. Yeah, Evan, whoever said I was good at reading. Oh boy. I mean, I am decent at reading, but I feel like whenever I write a script, I sound too robotic, not personable enough, not relatable enough. So it's just doesn't really work all too well. I do plan to make some videos with scripts though. Yeah, anything else? Does that mean I'm going to be streaming on Friday night? I plan to, but I hope that I will be healthy enough to do it. Because I am recovering from this freaking sickness, whatever I have. Drink some water. Drink some water. Weast. Yeah. Everywhere is pretty dry. I'm not sure if I want to publicly say what the question is, but no, Anna, I do not. True facts. Every single time I play a video game and lose in it, I am reminded that I don't have one. And Morgan now knows what I am talking about.
Indeed. Indeed.
Alrighty. Well, hopefully I will come back on Friday. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do anything tomorrow night. I really don't.
Maybe better if you're gonna do it on Friday to not do anything tomorrow night.
That's what I was thinking. Which means
Save your
that
voice.
which means that I would probably make another thread. I'm gonna make a thread tonight. It's gonna be very late tonight. But I'm gonna make a thread late tonight talking about the weather. And you guys can look at that on Twitter. I'll make another thread tomorrow evening. Once again, I plan to make a lot of threads on Twitter so that way you guys can stay up to date with all the stuff that I have and what my thought process are. Yeah, that is an F in the chat. That is that is true facts. So anyways, final thoughts on this event before I turn the stream off. First off, glad you guys came out. Hope everyone is safe from this event. If you know anyone who lives in these areas, please just go ahead and let them know. You may not have to let them know right now, but I would say sometime tomorrow or definitely Friday to say that there's definitely something that could happen within their area. The more we can just spread the word out, the better. It doesn't even have to be through my channel. It could just be you texting someone saying, hey, something could happen. So that would be appreciated. I appreciate everyone coming back after a while. I know I haven't really done a whole lot of stuff on this channel. I can say I hope to come back and do all sorts of stuff consistently. But I mean, my issue with myself as a creator is I don't upload when nothing happens. And I really should, even if nothing is happening. So I gotta try and get over that issue. I gotta get over college as well. College hopefully will lessen up a little bit. And hopefully things get a little bit better. I plan to stream on Friday. Morgan will also hopefully stream on his end as well, so that way we can get dual perspectives. But if he's not, he'll be...
If you stream, I won't, so my computer doesn't bottleneck.
That's true. That is true.
So that one of us can at least have a functioning computer.
I guess that is true. Well, anyways, he'll be in my ear regardless, so...
yeah.
We'll be...
Or vice versa.
We'll be there on
We shall
Friday,
see.
Hopefully. Yeah, this event is going to be very interesting to watch. Prefrontals are the ones that I'm most concerned about. The area to watch, the time to watch is from 2 to 5, and maybe even beyond that if those thunderstorms continue to sustain. But after that, be more of a strong damaging wind threat, and so therefore, the event will kind of mostly be over by then. But other than that, I will catch you guys next time, and hopefully you all stay safe. Once again, thank you guys so much for coming on out. Subscribe if you want to, but other than that, it's time to go home. I got a place for you. Swiffer Sweeper with the towel. I gotta go home. Yeah, I'll catch you guys next time, so peace out.
Is that